A mammoth vessel of war sips in the deep nothingness, its hull bellicose. Fleet after fleet of aliens freeze, stunned into inaction by this unthinkable threat. All assumptions about humanity crumble in an instant. The tide of war is about to turn irreversibly, and terror radiates through every starship observing. Silence looms. Shock ripples across alien command centers. Not long ago, Earth's defenses seemed as if they would be swept aside unaided. That confidence now evaporates. The sudden arrival of the human warship shakes even the Kanshin veterans to their core, making them second-guess their entire plan. For far too many cycles, interstellar empires had dismissed humanity as a minor power, a civilization more notable for curiosity and exploration than raw military strength. They had never thought you could make such a warship out of these resourceful creatures that could stop entire fleets in their tracks. The ship glides through orbit like a wordless sentinel, trailing an undeniable sense of rebellion. A single look at its futuristic hull plating sends panicked recalculations across alien war rooms. Generals crowd in dark chambers, studying holographic holograms of the threat. Their aides scour for any morsel of information on the ship's weapon systems, propulsion capabilities, and rumored shield technology. Each rumor leads to fiery back and forth. Others say the warship's armor is controversial, utilizing exotic materials retrieved from ancient ruins. Others have proposed a secret pact that granted humans access to esoteric knowledge. No matter the origin, it is menacingly obvious that the balance of power has shifted. As they try to continue as if everything's fine, alien commanders are adding up as the tension races through their fleets. Routine movements slow as officers wait for orders. Supply lines that a month ago were pointed at fueling a last push suddenly pivot to bolster defensive positions. Ships poised to join the invasion of Earth are called back, compelled to reform into fresh battle lines better equipped to face an unpredictable enemy. Rumors circulate among alien soldiers. The human warship is said to deploy armaments that can melt dreadnought armor in the blink of an eye. It can disappear from sensors at will, those people say, and then reappear to deliver devastating strikes. Others theorize an experimental warp drive that has the ship outpacing entire flotillas. Without known facts, fear turns on itself, forming a whirlpool of uncertainty that has pierced once brash momentum. In faraway outposts, the warship's appearance brings tentative hope. Colonists and refugees who prepared for an alien onslaught that was overwhelming start to wonder if they might actually prevail. Intimidated by the flagship's presence, small human escort ships regroup to form makeshift picket lines. Even the other species who once scoffed at the idea of Earth standing on its own now double-take. Maybe, just maybe, mankind has discovered how to flip the script. Such a shift in perception doesn't happen quietly. Allies of the alien armada want briefings, now, about this new variable. Their once solid confidence in simple triumph has given way to nervous speculation. Could one ship as a threat to the mightiest fleets of the galaxy? Or is the sudden panic among admirals just an overreaction, inflamed by partial intelligence? On the newly arrived warship, a focused hush reigns. The crew is aware they are humanity's last bet against all manner of what seemed like overwhelming odds. Their ship is armed to the teeth with advanced munitions, from rumored capital ship shredding beam arrays to impact morphing torpedo systems. Engineers pour into its corridors, monitoring for even the tiniest malfunction. Each will need to run perfectly, because one fatal failure could spell doom for Earth's final hope. Alien eyes scour the warship's exterior for chinks in the armor. Instead, they discover multi-layered plating not detectable by standard scans. The shield array of the ship blurs at the edges in a way that seems to be sculpted by intangible energies. Reports trickle back to jittery alien officers who can't decide whether assault or caution makes more sense. At the same time, human officers aboard the warship are reviewing final deployment orders, ensuring they strike at precisely the right moment. Observatories, dotted throughout human colonies, monitor the warship's every move, disseminating encrypted communications of encouragement. Morale surges. Even the most desolate outposts start organizing supply runs to bolster their champion, while regional defense flotillas rustle through what little offerings they can afford to spare. As one massive experiment, entire settlements provide scrap parts, ammo, or raw material. This same unity of purpose gives buoyance to the warship's crew, reminding them what they are fighting to protect. For alien armadas, indecision is a bigger problem. Their admirals are not sure whether facing the warship is an act of suicide or strategy. Some call for a massive frontal attack, trusting that sheer numbers will overwhelm any technological edge. Others call for surgical strikes on vulnerable points, intending to cripple the ship before its terrible power can be brought to bear. But indecision only hardens the human's resolve. Inside the warship, strategy talks play out. The commander, whose name had long since become irrelevant, studies the positions of the alien fleets using a towering holo display. Officers suggest audacious maneuvers, imagining rapid-fire raids that take advantage of the aliens' disorientation. There is tension in the command decks. They all understand that one mistake could lead to total disaster. However, to do nothing would be just as deadly. With each ticking moment, the galaxy draws ever closer to a crucial confrontation. In tight living quarters, nervous chatter buzzes among the rank and file. They remember the ravaged colonies on Earth and all of the millions whose lives were lost in the previous battles. This warship is more than a machine of war. It is a beacon of hope, proof that humanity will not surrender. A great many now with nagging doubts about their civilization's perseverance have found purpose in holding their ground and manning their posts, indeterminate in their commitment to stand stoically as their protagonists do battle. Word goes out to other allied species who discreetly assist humanity. Underneath the chaos of a larger conflict, transport ships smuggle medical supplies and advanced components to the warship. Disillusioned members of alien fleets, who question the aggression directed toward Earth, begin to leak data on likely vulnerabilities inside their own fleets. Small in scale, however, these gestures reflect the growing alliance of desperation and doubt. Meanwhile, the warship's engines throb with latent power. No one knows how fast it can really go, or the upper limits of its destructive ability. Speculation runs through every alien war council, from moon bases to capital ships at the front. But underneath that speculation bubbles a smoldering fear. Humanity, for so long underestimated, may have created a weapon that breaks every rule of galactic war. As time slips away, tensions begin to simmer. The alien forces which had prepared for a last sweep now hesitate between a siege or an outright engagement. Each approach carries peril. A siege could choke off human resources, but it also could provide time for the warship to slip through unguarded pathways and hit high-value targets. A direct strike could lean humanity a death blow in one fell swoop, or unimaginable losses if the warship's reported capabilities are there. Now, as the warship undergoes final checks, an eerie quiet hangs over the embattled quadrants of space. Even the vacuum seems to hold its breath. Communications go dark, as if both sides taking its measure realize the next glimmer will trigger the soul shift. With every sensor fixating on the warship, the galaxy prepares for the blow that will either salvage Earth or turn it to ash in history. Then it happens. In a split second, the human warship shatters its previously polished silence, barreling forward at a blinding speed toward the thickest clustering of alien ships. Barbara nears a bottomless pit with bloopers. Sensors gridding out overlapping coverage areas only fail to keep up with the warship's agility, and gunners cry out in frustration as they try to lock on. Even as they frantically try, the warship glides through firepower arcs like a ghost. A blinding shaft pierces the vacuum, slicing through two frigates with surgical precision. The crew aboard the alien craft have no time to react. Both vessels explode in bursts of disintegrating hulls, raining debris into the darkness. In all that tumult, the warship switches vectors again, as if it can read each salvo. Enraged alien admirals yell orders, sending their fleets to flank the intruder, but the warship's advanced propulsion outflanks them at every turn. Inside the warship's command center, there is tension. Officers coordinate volley after volley, making sure no shot is wasted. Focused blasts render enemy cruisers motionless, their thick armor turning to molten slag. The brutal efficiency of these strikes sends panic rippling through alien comms. Even wizened captains, who know no shipmates in hundreds of battles, mumble when faced with the fleet's harmonious assault techniques. Beams of energy surge and overload shield generators on alien bridges. Cascading failures keep crews scrambling to contain. As they try to regroup, the warship smashes through their ranks with nearly predictive accuracy. Laser turrets on alien warships spin wildly, the crews realizing only too late a target had already slipped away. Thrusters on the warship flare as it turns to attack again, ripping apart another unfortunate enemy. Allied vessels, observing from a distance, are awestruck by the spectacle. They had hoped that the human warship might be able to hold its own, but had never imagined that it could dominate so completely. Now, they grapple to make sense of scenes of carnage playing out in real time. The unstoppable force they are witnessing does not match the galaxy's long-held view of humanity as just an irritant to the cosmic hierarchy. The dynamics of everything change in these fiery minutes. Emboldened by the spectacle, smaller human vessels approach to deliver supporting fire. Much weaker than the shuttlecraft, they stage coordinated attacks that surprise flanking aliens. With each enemy craft destroyed or disabled, the warship's first strike has an outsized impact. And the impact isn't just shredding armor. It's breaking the spirit of entire fleets. Some alien admirals try to re-establish order, barking into comm channels that shriek with static. They propel marshalling tactics. They direct every warship in range to collapse around the human threat. But the warship feels every shift, adapting with ruthless speed. In a single daring move, it plows through a counterline of corvettes, unleashing with a shot that leaves them listing as wrecked hulks. On the ground in scattered colonies, people are watching live feeds in dazed awe. Their voices quiver with wary hopefulness. Can humanity really change the course of this monstrous war? Faces that were etched with despair are now radiant with renewed hope. They witness a new alliance of skill, technology, and pure mangling resolve that not only stops the slide but threatens to reverse it altogether. Whatever gasps there had been among alien strategists, the warship's tactics are counterintuitive. Each attempt to pin it down fails, as if it read the traps before they were even sprung. Data analysts rush to decipher the patterns, but the warship proves inscrutable, leaving them reeling. Their screens darken with red markers of vessels lost or pulverized in a matter of minutes. Berbatov was mocked out of the cup, and so it goes, the unkillable onslaught. Tension remains high aboard the warship. The crew realizes that one misstep could still prove disastrous. Under heavy fire, shield capacitors are depleted, and each evasive shift taking the ship out of a line of fire strains the engines. But the momentum is all with them. Every volley echoes with a human-made collective determination of people who will not give in. Then, in a moment that would become iconic, the warship fires a tight beam that punches through the flagship of a major alien coalition. A cascading chain reaction tears through the flagship's reactors, taking it in a blinding explosion visible throughout the sector. This one blow sends shockwaves through comm chatter. It literally stuns entire battalions. The chain of command breaks down, and dispersed fleets turn to mush. In that one cataclysmic flash, the warship reinvented the war's entire trajectory. No longer is the question whether humanity can hold out. It is whether the aliens can survive ongoing onslaught. A great panic sweeps through ranks that marched once in total confidence. Most try to retreat in a rush, colliding with one another in disordered bunches. What started as a brave first strike morphs into a display of unvarnished power. The galaxy is treated to a performance that upends every assumption about Earth's power. In the aftermath, star systems that once braced for the final demise of humanity now awaken with curiosity. If one warship can do this, what else have the humans kept in the dark? With smoke cleared, the warship is holding its position amid the wreckage. Its hull bears scorch marks and tears where enemy fire struck home, but it is still functional and resolute. The sensor sweeps confirm the destruction wrought on the alien formation. In the distance, shattered remnants of once mighty fleets crawl away, trying to regroup. All is quiet over the scattered debris fields, save for the half-hearted echoes of flaming wreckage extinguishing on the fuzzy edges of vacuum. This is the moment the galaxy discovers nothing will ever be the same. The humans have just shown they can go toe-to-toe with powers far older and grander than them. The warship that single-handedly eviscerated an entire line of alien warships before the battle has even begun at light speed. Rumors spread, and the battle only just begun. If this is their opening salvo, What terrible things might the determination they unleash do next? Terror spreads through extraterrestrial chain of command protocols. In a state of panic, senior leaders hold an emergency war council. They mount a daring countermeasure, one that runs contrary to their former prudence. The consensus is grim. If they don't strike now, the human warship might do away with their entire force, one by one. Cloaked reconnaissance probes inch closer to the warship, relaying sensor readings back under the risk of detection. This paints a sobering picture of advanced shield harmonics and nimble thrusters that brush aside conventional intercepts. The data keeps coming in, and, for some of the alien strategists, the evidence makes clear that they have fundamentally miscalculated the nature of the threat. It is not just arms, but human determination. Like resolute admirals, they call their fleets to order, sending battleships, cruisers, and fighter wings to form an immense blockade. They intend to box the warship into overlapping fields of fire, figuring that brute numbers will trap even the most advanced vessel. And the flotilla settles into place, bathing that region of space with thousands of guns at the ready. But the shadow of fear is always there. Many of the crews remember how swiftly their comrades were swept away during the warship's initial strike. The memory of that withering beam, which sliced through armor as though it were paper, breaks their morale. Officers bark orders to keep people in line, but nervous murmurs reverberate through every hallway. Subtle tremors of dread ripple throughout the blockade as members wonder if this plan has any better chance. From a concealed vantage, the warship observes the encroaching armada. Banks of scanners provide a steady stream of data to its command center, where tacticians dissect formation patterns and hunt for weak links. Each pass, waves of alien ships try to close in from multiple vectors, but the warship's crew spots a critical vulnerability. Albeit a formidable blockade, it covers too great an area to stay airtight. There are gaps in the net. Knowing that the aliens are committing their heaviest assets, the warship's leadership determines upon a course of action that will either bust the blockade or result in catastrophic loss. Smaller human craft volunteer to perform as decoys, putting their own lives on the line to draw fire away from the warship's main thrust. It's a wager riding on timing and coordination, highlighting how human beings can adapt under pressure. The aliens spring their plan into full action when they detect movement. Battle cruisers vomit forth torrents of plasma, railguns spit thunder, and missile salvos traverse the void. The decoy ships chase each other out into a scattering of wild, evasive motions, saturating an enemy's targeting arrays with multiple false leads. In the melee, the warship revs its engines, readying for a single, final lunge. Then, it explodes into the blockade's outer ring, ducking and dodging a rain of energy blasts. Each impact sends shields flaring, but the warship continues moving forward in combat. Alien fighters swarm, trying to bog it down with pass after pass of punishing strafing runs. But Allied ships are shooting exposed enemy flanking ships, creating micro-openings that the warship rides deeper into enemy lines. Within ships of the alien fleets, madness reigns as mixed orders jam comms. Some admirals demand to tighten the noose of the blockade, and others scream for evasion to regroup. The out-of-sync commands quickly lead to disastrous collisions and friendly fire incidents as the vessels scramble to reposition. The warship takes advantage of every opening, sniping at vulnerable capital ships with surgical strikes. Then in one enormous brainwave, the humans design a prototype weapon, a short-range EMP surge that fools the aliens' targeting sensors for a vital few seconds. Plenty of time to break through the blockade's inner circle. With that last barrier overcome, the warship rockets forward and fires a tearing beam into what's left of a central enemy carrier's command module. The siege quakes, having lost place and leadership. Panic ripples outward. Boats at the fringes of the blockade scatter, no longer willing to die for a failed strategy. Small pockets of resistance attempt to rally, but it has no cohesion to stop the warship's momentum. In the heat of war, the human flagship carves through alien defenses like a rabid beast, opening up such an audacious path that many spectators fear it trends toward a total rout of organized resistance. Even so, the risk is acute for the warship. Hull cracks spread, and the strength of shields falls dangerously low. Alarms ring through its passages, alerting that critical systems are under stress. The crew grits its teeth, knowing that if they fail now, the blockade can close in and crush them. But succumbing to caution is not an option. They press on, using every last reserve of skill, every trick learned after years of survival. At last, the blockade is breached. A previously unassailable wall breaks apart into sailing debris and running vessels. The remaining alien admirals' broadcasting orders are having a hard time keeping discipline, but desertions soar. Fleets disperse in confusion, some vowing to rendezvous farther away, others bolting outright to safer quarters. But this desperate gamble lies at the center of the warship's battered but undaunted determination. Adrift in a field of wrecked vessels and discarded debris, it assesses the wreckage. The aliens' major counterattack has been defeated, and along with it, their confidence that a swift victory was still theirs to claim. The humans have passed the test one more time, and in the face of all odds, have shown that wits, solidarity, and brute force do it better than they have imaginations of number. A profound silence settles across the galaxy. The alien factions all scurry to regroup after the human warship's repeated victories. Once dismissive of Earth's potential, veteran captains are now issuing urgent calls for cooperation, imploring even competing species to band together. If the humans keep it up, some fear no fleet will survive the onslaught. Forces gather over a strategic gas giant on orbit of a massive alien armada. Leviathan dreadnoughts and carriers bristle with weapon platforms as weathered crews gird themselves for the coming clash. A stillness hangs on their comm channels. The final confrontation is approaching, and every soldier knows what's at stake. If they fail, the humans could take the upper hand for generations. Just as the humans feared, their warship thrusts out from subspace, with smaller escorts trailing it. Its hull is still marked by the scars of past battles, but the shine of its power-gathering weapon arrays makes its intent deadly clear. The alien armada, reacting to the incoming threat, assembles in an impenetrable defensive shell, each individual turret and missile battery now targeted on the approaching object. In a split second, space bursts into life with wave upon wave of energy beams and projectile ordnance. The warship's doing shields flicker under the intense onslaught. Explosions rock its superstructure, forcing the crew to reroute power and improvise emergency repairs. But retreat is not an option. Dedicated engineers who refuse to let the warship waver at this last hurdle are coaxing each punishing subsystem back to life. The alien armada, no longer dispersed, rains down coordinated salvos intended to overcome any defense. Wave after wave of fighters cleave past the warship's sides, peppering it with bursts of flak. The cruiser squadrons pool their fire in hopes of breaking through the warship's stricken hull. For a moment, it feels like the humans have finally encountered a challenge they cannot overcome. But the warship's crew has held its most devastating tactic in reserve, saving it for this moment. As the onslaught strikes, they spring into action, firing up a prototype reactor system said to siphon from inexhaustible energy reserves. The ship's bream cannons suddenly burn with an intensity never seen before, ripping through the void with explosive power. And multiple alien dreadnoughts recoil in direct hits, their hulls splitting like heated metal under a welder's torch. A horrified silence ripples through the ranks of the aliens as they are witnesses to the warship's last trump card. They yell for officers to disengage, but the formation is too tight. Collisions flare amongst those who have desperately tried to evade the inexorable rays. The warship pushes ahead, cutting a path deep into the middle of the armada. The galaxy watches, breath caught, unsure if the humans are simply unstoppable or only delaying their inevitable destruction. In the midst of the havoc, the warship pours all of its resolve into a single massive blow. Its primary cannon charges with a roar that feels a reverberation in the emptiness. Waves of plasma whip round the muzzle, and then, in blinding flash, a lethal beam bolts out. It rips through the lead dreadnought, vaporizes a pair of support carriers trailing in its wake, and pushes on into the black, leaving a corridor of mangled wreckage behind it. The lines of alien cities disintegrate before our eyes. Wing upon wing of fighters, now without leaders, swim off like schools of fish. Straggling cruisers peel away, engines flaring in panicked flight. The previously mighty blockade falls apart into isolated groups of terrified survivors. On distant capital worlds, broadcast relays capture the horrific moment, fueling rumors that humanity's ascent has become unstoppable. Still, the human warship is paying a high price. Automated distress calls echo through its corridors as scores of decks rupture under strain. Fires burn in closed-off compartments, and shields are all but non-existent. For every alien ship abandoned to drift in ruins, the warship accrues new injuries, stressing its systems beyond their design tolerances. Yet it refuses to yield. The crew presses on, believing that shattering the armada here will end the war. In a last-ditch effort, the alien commanders collect a small batch of dreadnoughts for a last stand. Those titans of battle converge on the flank of the warship, and a synchronized salvo is released, crashing into the scarred hull. Molten plating and smoke erupt from the impact sites. Danger alarms blare on the warship's bridge, but no one flinches. Calling upon its final reserves of power, the warship responds with a deafening broadside that tears the dreadnoughts to shreds. A massive shockwave sweeps through the battle space, blowing debris everywhere. The alien armada, so sure of its triumph at this point, hangs on the edge of total destruction. It evokes appeals for ceasefires or surrender terms, scattered transmissions. For others, they simply fade to static. It is now evident that no normal defense can withstand the warship's anger. The galaxy holds its breath as the last remaining nodes of organized resistance crumble. Dreadnoughts still operational warp away in emergency mode, leaving behind crippled carriers and drifting cruisers. At the center of it all is the warship, battered and scarred, but victorious. Despite flames licking at its burned-out superstructure, it demonstrates that the world's willingness to fight is one power engine impotent to outrun, outgun, or extinguish. After the battle's echo has faded, the galaxy has witnessed the carnage left in its wake. Countless sectors drift with twisted wreckage, the remains of once proud alien armadas. Port screens on distant worlds replay the warship's brutal engagements, each more astonishing than the last. Everyone can see how this small obstacle the world had presumed tended to revolutionize a whole war. In the smoldering aftermath, the warship limps through debris fields, its hull blackened and buckling. Emergency teams work round the clock to protect vital systems. The critical repairs start as soon as the guns go silent, for the crew knows that victory does not ensure the elimination of enemies. But the magnitude of their achievement dwarfs any lingering threats. They have withstood the galaxy's great fleets and prevailed. Tales of the warship's exploits reach to the farthest reaches of known space. Refugees remember how it protected weak colonies, and Allied captains tell of near-miraculous rescues. Once contemptuous of human resilience, alien strategists now transcribe each documented tactic in hopes of some insight into the ineluctable pairing of rage and inventiveness. The warship's renown expands to the point of near myth, a symbol of resistance whose impact rings out across Earth's frontier. On alien societies, the fear comes with a grumble of admiration. A few beaten sides contemplate alliances, hoping to escape another confrontation with the ship of war. Some others, too proud to face failure, retreat behind fortified walls, swearing to return and take vengeance one day. But they all must recognize a new reality. Humanity, once eclipsed by ancient empires, is now a force of nature. In the space men control, there is revelry. Beacons blaze in liberated outposts, and weeping families hug returning crews. But beneath the elation is a sobering recognition of the cost. Many lives have been lost and countless ships are wrecked beyond repair. Victory in the war and scars remain. Scars that drive our home the grim cost required for such a victory. From frontier colonies to secret research labs, debates about humanity's future unfold. Will they push their advantage and run alien forces home to their homeworlds, or negotiate a lasting peace to forestall another galactic war? Questions like these have fueled heated debate. The success of the warship has shown mankind's incredible capacity for both destruction and unity. News networks are filled with speculation about the warship's next action. Others think of it as a protector, a permanent guardian of territories on Earth, a hulking deterrent that guarantees no empire will ever again threaten them. Others have their suspicions it might disappear into classified shipyards for an overhaul, re-emerging with even greater capabilities. The galaxy as a whole holds its breath, uncertain of what humanity will decide to do. For alien civilians who observe the horrors of the war, a new terror emerges. Who could oppose humanity if they choose to become an expanding force? Others complain that the humans have crossed a line, turning whole volumes of space into graveyards. Some would say that it was the alien invasion that even made the humans reveal their warship in the first place. Debate rages in once cavalier capitals, shaken to their foundations. But despite all the dread it generates, the warship also triggers a sense of possibility. Empires are gaining distance, and smaller species who hid from the controlling powers set their sights on a chance to not be ruled. Those in repressive dominions are beginning to writhe, asking themselves if alliances with humanity could shatter the bonds that were once tightly enforced. The warship poses a gigantic question mark. Is it a harbinger of renewed conflict, or the prelude to a more balanced galaxy? Over the littered battlefields, the warship makes emergency repairs and steers a stately course away from the carnage. As salvage crews sift through floating debris, a trail of silence falls across the shattered hull. Inside, weary crew members reflect on their journey, recounting every sacrifice that has brought them to this moment. They might never shake the weight of so many wars carved into the ship's heart. Now, at the vanguard of everyone's minds is one singular, paralyzing question. What will humanity do next? What the military has learned, however, is that a coalition of star-spanning races can be brought to its knees when faced with the indomitable will of Earth's defenders. Across the cosmos, alarm and admiration intermingle. Boundaries are redefined, treaties rethought, entire civilizations taking crisis meetings to figure out how to deal in a galaxy where humans have this kind of terrifying power. One fact trumps all others. The arrival of that human warship changed everything. What was once thought to be a guaranteed alien victory has instead been a conflict that ended in shattered fleets and inconvenient truces. Few are willing to defy Earth's sentinels again. The warship disappears into the twinkling black, and a vibration of suspense lingers, a distant echo of the ugly truth told many times before to those nervously looking over their shoulder to find humanity. Do not dismiss so easily those who choose to fight for their home ever again.